Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. You might remember last year for Christmas I released the Star Tree Cricut project, which was only available in Cricut Design Space, and I know some of you were disappointed that meant that you couldn't make it if you didn't have a Cricut or if you didn't have the Cricut Access subscription. So for this year I have remade the file as an SVG, which means now you can download and use it absolutely free no matter what kind of cutting machine you've got. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the files, you'll be left with folders that look like this. This Star Tree Centerpiece comes in 3 separate versions. There's a Cricut Access version, and this version is all ready to cut, but it does need the Cricut Access subscription to be able to cut it, and this version will only load in Cricut Design Space. Then there are DXF file versions, and these are for if you're using the free version of Silhouette Studio, which is the basic edition, or I believe it's also called standard edition. Or if you're using Design Space with a Cricut but you don't have the Cricut Access subscription, or if you're using a Silhouette with any of the paid upgrades to Silhouette Studio, or if you're using a Scan and Cut, then it's the files in the SVG files folder that you'll want. I'm going to go through in this video and show you the Cricut Access version and also the SVG files. Now, for both the DXF and SVG files, there are 2 different versions you can choose. One of them has dashed lines in the file name and the other has score lines. So the dashed lines one will cut lots of little lines along where you're going to be folding, so you don't need a scoring tool or stylus to make this version, and it's all ready to cut when you load it into Design Space, so it's a lot easier to get ready. However, if you'd prefer to do all the folding with an actual scoring stylus with your Cricut, then you would need to load in the score lines version. This is the trickiest version to get going because you have to manually format all the score lines, but I'll show you how to do that step by step in this video. First things first though, let's look at the Cricut Access version, as this is the easiest one to do if you do have that Cricut Access subscription, and this is the original tree that I created last year for Christmas 2023. So if we open up this PDF file, within there is a link you can click to open the project on my Cricut profile. And once you've clicked the link, then you get to a page which looks like this. You'll have a little pop-up that says, do you want to open Cricut Design Space? So I'm going to press open. And then it will load Design Space for you, and you'll get another pop-up that looks like this. From here, you can click Customize to open the project, or Make it to go straight to the cut screen. If I just press Customize, yours will probably say Make a Copy or Edit a Copy instead of Customize. Mine says Customize because it's my original project. So this is what it looks like. Everything is completely set up to use scoring lines, so you will need a scoring tool or stylus for this version. The blue rectangles are what you'll be cutting from vellum. Everything else you'll be cutting from white cardstock. So everything is ready to go. You can literally just click Make and start cutting. Nice and easy on this one. If you do have the Cricut Access subscription, this is the one to choose. If you don't have Cricut Access, you'll need to load one of the SVG versions instead. So I'll click on Upload and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse or drag and drop them in. This time I'll go into the SVG files folder, and to start we'll do the dashed line version. So let's take a look at that one and press Continue. Continue or Upload, then it will load in. Alright, so you can see the dashed lines on here, and these are all cut lines and they're all ready on all of the pieces, so you don't need to do any line formatting or any attaching. Your Cricut will cut these little dashes and then you'll be able to fold and know where to fold. So again, on this one, as long as it's loaded in at the correct size, you can just press Make and you're ready to go. Note that the snowflakes in the sides are slightly different on the SVG file version to the one on the Cricut version, and that's because the Cricut one used snowflakes from within the Design Space program, which I obviously couldn't use for my own SVG one for copyright reasons, so I had to change up some of the snowflakes in the SVG versions. Now you'll notice at the top there's this big rectangle that says to check the size. Click the whole design and make sure it's 75 inches wide and 40 inches tall. If it's not, then make it that size. And then press the Ungroup button at the top of the Layers panel. Click away to deselect everything. Then click that rectangle and press Delete. Alright, then I could go and just press Make straight away, and everything is ready to cut. It's all got the right sizes for me. Everything will be set out, and you can see it will be doing these little dashed lines as cut lines. The other version of the SVG file is the one that you can use your scoring tool with. So let's upload again, upload image, and this time I'll drag in the one that says score lines in the file name. Press continue and upload. And again, we need to check the size once it's loaded. 75 by 40, that's correct. So I can ungroup and then click the pink rectangle and delete. Now this time the lines all look straight and complete to start with. We need to ungroup each of these stars one at a time. And within there, you can then see that all of the side bits are also grouped. So what you need to do if you want to use this version is open up all of these one at a time. Each one contains two layers. You've got the bottom and then the lines on top, which we will need to change to score. So under Operation, change it to Score. Then click to select both of those layers. You see they've both gone green, and press Attach. And you will need to do that for every single piece of all of the different sides if you want to use this version. Now I know that after you've changed it to Score, it looks like that second version because it now looks dashed on here, but actually that's just how Design Space is showing us this will be scored this time. It will score it as a complete straight line all the way across, and you'll need to put in the scoring stylus or scoring wheel for this one and this one only. There are lots of pieces to change. If I zoom out, you can see just how many there are. So each of these little bits all would need the score lines done. So it can take a bit of time to get that done. The reason you have to do it manually is that Design Space doesn't know how to load in score lines when you upload an SVG. It's something you can only do manually. So personally, I think the version with the dash cut lines is a lot easier to make, but I wanted to add them both because if you would prefer to do it with actual score lines, this is the one for you. So whichever version you choose to make, go ahead and get it all cut out, and then I'll show you how to put it together. Remember, the blue pieces should be cut from vellum or tracing paper. These are going to be stuck to the back of all the little windows to kind of make the light diffuse, so it's going to be nice and smooth and light up all of the sides beautifully. I used a white glitter card for my tree, which turned out really pretty and extra sparkly once the lights are on. But if you don't have that, then just plain white card is absolutely fine, or you could make it in any colour that you want. Now it's time to start sticking the stars together. I find it easier to get all the pieces for one star together and then do it one at a time rather than trying to stick all the little bits together first, because that can get a little bit confusing as to which sides go with which side star. So I've got all the bits together here to make the largest star, which is the one that goes on the bottom. And I'll just show you this one, but all the stars go together in exactly the same way. So each star consists of two star cutouts, one for the top of it and one for the bottom. And then you'll have the edge pieces with the snowflakes inside. And for this one, because it's the biggest one, there are two sections on each piece of cardstock, whereas for some of the smaller snowflakes, I've joined some of the bits together in Design Space so that you'll have a little bit less sticking to do, but I couldn't fit any more together for this big one, which is why we have 5 separate pieces here. I've already stuck and folded these 4, so I'll show you how to do it with the remaining one. And you'll also have a little rectangle of your vellum or tracing paper, greaseproof paper to go in the windows if you've chosen to use them. Okay, so I'll start by folding the sides along all the score lines. Turn your cardstock upside down. I find it easiest to get precise score lines folded with a ruler. So what I'm going to do is place my ruler along the score line. It's a little bit hard to see because we've got the back of the card here. Place that along there, and then I can fold that up to get a nice, easy and crisp fold. For the tabs along the edge, these need to have quite a precise fold on them. So I've been going down them with a brayer tool. You can tell because it's covered in glitter from where I've made the other ones. I don't go down the tabs on the end because I'm not sure yet which side this will need to bend, whether it will need to go forwards or backwards. And the same on all the middle ones. Just going to gently fold that in. You can use your ruler too if you want to. And then fold that one the other direction, just so that I'll be able to make it go both ways depending on where this goes in the star. Once you've done all the folds, make sure you turn it upside down again. So this is my bottom side. My pretty glitter side is this side, face down, and this is the underside. Take the little vellum pieces and some glue or double-sided tape. I'm going to run a bit of glue just around the edge of the window. Don't go all the way up to the score lines. Just a little bit. And then stick this on, being careful when you push it down that you don't smush any of the glue into the snowflake area. And also make sure that this doesn't cover any of the score lines. And there's that piece done. And as I said, I've already done the other bits that make up the biggest star. These are all dry, so I can start sticking them together into a very long line. When you're sticking this together into a line, make sure you check Design Space to see what order to put the segments in, because most of the sides of the stars have a repeating pattern of 2 different designs. You can either use glue or double-sided tape for this. I find tape's a little bit easier because it does stick straight away rather than having to wait for glue to dry. And my tape's a bit big for these tabs, but it folds back on itself. I want to make sure that tape doesn't go off of the edge of the cardstock. So I've added tape on my tab, on there, and then stick it to the inside of one of the other pieces. And make sure it's got a nice firm stick and it's really straight. And we can do the same for another piece. And now I have a very long piece. And in total, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rectangles. And that's what you should have for all of the different stars. They'll all end up with 10. Get one of your stars and then turn it upside down so we've got the bottom side facing upwards. And I'll just put that there for now. And for this, you can glue it or you can tape it again. I like to tape it, and I actually like to put my tape on every single tab before I start sticking. I found it much easier than trying to add the tape as I was putting it around the edge of the stars. So on my little train of sides, I've got my glitter side, my top side facing upwards. I'm going to run my tape down all of these tabs on one side. So I'm only doing this side, not this side. Right, let's tape on all of those. And I'm also going to add some to this end tab too. All right, now as my star, remember this is the not pretty side of the cardstock. And I'll start on the end without the tab, so I've got my straight line. My double-sided tape is not that sticky, it's quite tacky, which enables me to do this. If your tape is permanent and sticks straight away, you might not be able to do it this way. I'm going to stick this first corner in, and for all the stars, the tabs don't go right up to the edge of the star. There's about a 1mm overhang gap on each side, which makes it much easier to stick them down, and it also looks more effective when your tree is put together. So I've just stuck those two down in there. Not sure if you can see there's a little overlap around the edge. And now I'm going to do the next one. So fold that out into position, push my tape down, and then just keep going round the whole of the star. It is a bit fiddly, especially with these long pieces. I've now just got my last piece, so this bit needs to come in, and then the tab that you put the tape down is going to stick to the back of the side that we stuck down first. And there's my base done. Next, go over all of your folds at the top and make sure that they're sitting really flat and flush. And that's so that we can add the top star by just putting some glue on these tabs. So I like tape for the bottom bit like we've just done, and glue for this bit because then we can stick it all in one go. Right, there's my glue. Take the other star that's the same size as the one on the bottom. Make sure your pretty side's facing upwards and put it on. And you'll notice it does not fit at the moment, but that's okay. What you're going to do is squeeze in one of the sides until it fits that there's just a little lip of that top star going over, and then working quickly before the glue dries, do the same for the other sides. And it's okay if it comes apart a little bit as you're doing it. You can just keep going back and doing each side, just pushing it in and pushing that top onto the glue. So it's all going to go exactly where it's supposed to. And we're getting these sides all straight under the top star shape. You can see now we've got our beautiful star, and that's the bottom one done, where it will be when that glue's dry. I've already done all my others. Here they are. I just placed one on top of the other for now. I'm also going to need the tube that goes around the inside, which is how we add the fairy lights. And that's what this piece is. So we've got our draw line here, which is going to show us where to stick. And this piece I've cut from regular white card, not glitter card, because it's not going to be seen. So I didn't want to use up a pretty piece of card. Let's turn this over and fold up all of the tabs along the score line. And then I'm going to add my tape up to that draw line. I did it in a bit of a faint pink colour, but I promise there is a line there. That draw line is going to show us where to stick this when we turn it round. And you might need to just mould your card a little bit, because we want this to be a proper tube. Kind of like a toilet roll tube. It's going to be a cylinder. So let's just get it kind of so it knows what we want of it. Just roll it as much into a tube shape as you can, and then stick this over so it touches that draw line all the way down, because we need this to be perfectly cylinder, the same size all the way down, otherwise it might not fit through the holes. Open out the tabs These are going to stand underneath the tree. There we go. And this is ready to wrap the lights around. I'm using 2 packs of fairy lights so that my tree is super bright. And I've got these ones that have a really small battery pack. They seem to work the best because you don't really have a lot of room for the battery pack inside the tree. Take some sticky tape to help us stick the lights. And you want to make sure you've got lights that don't get hot because we are tacking them onto cardstock. Making sure it's not on the tabs. And then wind it around the tube. I'm not doing it super tight, and you'll end up with probably a little bit at the top. You need that, so we need a little bit that's not wrapped around, and that's what will light the very top star on the tree. So I'm going to leave that one as it is and put another couple of bits of tape to hold this where I want it to go. I'm not putting the tape on the lights, just the bit of the ribbon. And now I can do the same with my other set of fairy lights. Here's my tube all wrapped up, and I can take the largest star and hold that out and just thread it through over the top. The edges of the battery packs will come out the bottom, and there's a little bit of give for it to do that, or if you want to, you can just kind of tuck them underneath. And then all we need to do is thread the other stars on top. These don't get glued together, they are just threaded on, which is great because it means that you can use this and take it apart at the end of Christmas and put it in a box somewhere and bring it out every year. So it all comes apart to make it easy for storage. This bit just goes over the top too. And then position it so that you've got the alternating spikes. This is the bottom and this is the one on top. It's going to go like that. And then I can continue for all of the other stars. I'm now almost ready. I've just got 1 star left, and this is the little bit that's coming over the tube. So this time it goes in, and it's not going to come out the other side because there's no hole at the top of this one. Once all the stars are slotted onto the roll, you'll have 1 piece of card left, which is the star that stands on top. Fold it where the thin rectangle meets the stars, and then stick the star pieces together with a foam square or some glue. You might need to glue the thin rectangles to the smallest star box to get it to stand up reliably. And there you have it, your 3D star tree is all finished and ready to display in your home. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut and Christmas crafts. Thank you for watching. Bye!